Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a great lunch break just now. And I would like to welcome you to this parallel session called Think Local First, How Progressive Cities Deliver World-Leading Services to Citizens and what we can deliver by working together. My name is Charlotte van Ooyen, and on behalf of the Lisbon Council, I have the pleasure of moderating today's high-level panel of senior digital officers and local representatives. Now, why should we think local first? As has been evoked several times today already, during the pandemic, more user-centered digital services have bloomed. And this is especially notable at the local level of government, where proximity to the end users is greatest. For instance, the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands developed a highly successful digital service desk where public servants help citizens conclude services through video conferencing. Now, this example and many others are shared through the multi-year European research program User-Centricities, which is joined by more and more great cities, and recently so by our host country's capital, Ljubljana. Unfortunately, such innovation pearls are not widespread and remain out of reach for the majority of European citizens. So what can we do about this? 144 billion euros, 20% of the Recovery and Resilience Fund have been assigned to digital transition projects. And governments have a responsibility to spend it wisely. So not on website decorations, but on digital services that citizens will actually use. This is a particularly challenging task for local governments who cannot and should not do this alone. They need close collaboration with their national governments and European peers. And Europe has a key role to play in facilitating such collaboration, and this role should go beyond publishing new regulations and ministerial declarations. An important effort already made in this direction is the recently published proposal for a European interoperability framework for smart cities and communities. This local EIF explicitly acknowledges the role that public authorities across different levels of government have to play in local service delivery. The speakers in today's session will have an honest look at practical ways to shape the necessary collaboration between the different institutional levels. And before I introduce our lovely panel, I want to tell you in the audience that we would very much like to hear from you too. So from now on, you can post your questions using the Q&A function in Zoom, and I may call on you later to pose your question yourself. From the city of Paris, we are joined by not one, but two speakers for most of the session. We have Chief Information Officer Neja Lanoir and Digital Transformation Officer Bertrand Lavaux. And unfortunately, due to prior commitments, Neja cannot stay with us for the full duration. So we are very grateful for the time she has found in her calendar to join us today. And furthermore, from our host country, Slovenia, we have Boris Koprivnikar, who is the digital advisor to the mayor of Ljubljana, CEO of Singular Consulting, and the former Minister of Public Administration. Then I also welcome Päivi Sutinen, Director for City as a Service Development from the Mayor's Office of the Finnish city of Espoo, which is a partner in the User-Centricities project. Also with us on stage is Kieran McCarthy, Councillor of Cork City Council in Ireland and digital advocate in his work as member of the European Committee of the Regions. And then our speaker panel is completed by Paolo De Rosa, Chief Technology Officer in the Department of Digital Transformation within the Italian Ministry for Technological Innovation and Digital Transition. I would like to kindly remind our esteemed speakers to keep your contributions as concise as possible so that everyone has sufficient speaking time available. Now, let's talk about local national collaboration for digital service delivery. First, I would like to go to Neja. we know that as a French city, Paris enjoys a high level of autonomy. And at the same time, I also know that you are an open source enthusiast and firm believer in co-creation for the benefit of citizens. I would like to ask you if you can tell us about a case where the city of Paris collaborated with the national government in the development of digital services, where you feel that citizens really benefited from this collaboration. And I believe that you have a slide that will be shared with us. Off to you, Neja.
Thank you, Charlotte. And I am very happy to be with you today, even for a short moment. I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our experience and to hear about yours. In City of Paris, we are undertaking our digital transformation roadmap for the current mandate. Bertrand Lavaux, who works with me and who is with us today, is in charge of this program. And one of our key projects is, of course, developing digital services for the citizens. And for this, we need to collaborate with our correspondents in the many public entities and ministries. One of our main objectives is to simplify the different processes of validations or extra information necessary to deliver a service or to give an authorization. And this can require the intervention of numerous public actors. And sometimes these are not electronic, but still on paper files. So the most original and complex example we have is certainly the project of digitalizing building permits. In 2017, a French law was passed requiring that building permits be fully digitalized by 2022. This process is very complex in France, with more than 20 different public entities involved, both at national and local levels, such as City of Paris, of course, the Ministry of Culture, the Interior Ministry, Paris Fire Brigade, Architect of the Buildings of France, and so on. So this national agenda was definitely a game changer. And in Paris, every entity concerned started to work with each other in order to fully digitalize the process. And we succeeded in fully digitalizing this process by mid-2019, and it enabled the city to operate and deliver permits during the pandemic. And the time where the architects used to come to the city hall with a trolley of drawings and documents is now a distant memory, and thanks to this productive partnership. The second example is sharing national data. Our citizens or user requests, such as demands for enrollments, ID cards renewals, etc., often need the checking of information which already exists and is available and is checked by other public services. And the user has to give this information many times. So we have to simplify these formalities. It's the concept of what we call in French, dites-le nous une fois, or tell us just once. And this objective is not so easy to achieve even digitally. As a city, we can benefit from national APIs on many topics, identity with France Connect, registration numbers for vehicles, social or tax information, and using them helps us to reduce the paperwork, ID checking, and accelerate, if not completely, automate the processes. These are the two examples I can give, but we have many other projects we can speak about if you have more time.
Yes, I hope we will, Neja. So thank you so much for this great kickoff of the discussion. I would now like to go to Boris Koprivnikar, because if I'm correct, you also have a great example to mention, which is actually quite related to what Neja was telling us about in relation to the once only principle and the importance of data sharing. So please go ahead, Boris.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to this distinguished panel. I'm really glad that I can share just a few thoughts how in Ljubljana, in Slovenia, and in Europe, we are approaching to so-called smart cities. And what is usual in the city and what we found in Ljubljana is that there is a lot of institutions and departments in the city infrastructure and the city institutions that are all communicating to the end publics separately and between themselves like a silos. So if we can move the slide, what we wanted to do and how we understand the smart city is basically that we built the center where the data is collected, and this data serves as a fuel for all the services that are provided for the citizens, and also as an exchange between different offices and the organizations. And setting in that way means that you have very effective ground for very user-centered services without disturbing the everyday's work of the different departments. And for me, it's also important that we approach to the smart city solutions, if you want it, from the four level, from the organizational level. So it's not only about technology, it comes on the end. Who is deciding, who is coordinating inside the city? Then the city have to coordinate and exchange best practices and standards with the state, with the government. And of course, we have to do the same on the EU level. And the same is with the processes. If in the city of Ljubljana, we connected our processes to the governmental services, we need to connect them further to the European level. And the most important is that we are able to collect the data on the local level, to share it on the country level, and again, share it on the EU level, what is relevant. And technology have to be agnostic, have to be compatible. And what we find as a good example from Slovenia is the last preparation of tender from the government, where they already defined the frames and the standards. So it was not that you are lost in digital technologies, but you know what kind of a standards you need to follow. So what we appreciate and what we find would be, let's say, interesting also from the European level is not only to finance specific projects, but also to have organized support all the way down to the local level. So basically approach is building services bottom up, but having standards and frames top down settled. And then we have environment that have been developed, organized this. Maybe these few thoughts for a start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boris, for this great overview. I would now like to go to Päivi to hear about the Finnish experience, and specifically from the city of Espoo in collaboration with the national government. Päivi, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. What an interesting beginning of this panel. Nice to hear, Boris, your presentation. I think that collaboration is a journey, and how we co-create local and service innovation ecosystems at the same time for the sustainable transformation in our cities with citizens and all stakeholders is very important. We need an active collaboration at the local level and the national level, and vice versa. I would like to name 6 important steps in the digital service ecosystem development that we have taken in collaboration between Finnish national and local level. First is that national public sector enterprise architecture was created with cities. It has given the framework for the development and describes the requirements for interoperability for technologies and the data processing systems. A second step has been opening public registers and open data development. Thirdly, a national level and local level have together developed the usability of public data assets and registers. Fourth step in Finland has been that is very visible to citizens is that national level has developed national architecture for digital services, Suomi.fi, including identification, Finnish service catalog, data exchange layer, and so on. The law obligates all or entitles public administration organization to use Suomi.fi services, which has been beneficial for the citizens. For example, the new My Espoo self-service platform was, which we are now developing in Espoo, is using the Suomi.fi service modules. Good national services make it easier for the cities to develop digital platforms and for citizens to use them. Fifth and important step is the usage of public data was when the law of secondary use of health and social data was laid 2019. It means that the customer and register data created during the health and social service activities can be used for purpose of other than primary reason for which they were originally saved. The purpose is to facilitate the effective impact and safe processing and access to the personal, social and health data for steering, supervision, research, statistics and development in the health and social sector. Sixth and the latest step that we are now taking in collaboration is to create strategic goals for information policy for the national level. The Finnish Ministry of Finance is running the information policy measures, and their vision is to that people will be prepared to learn, apply and make good use of technologies for the purpose of enhancing the quality of life, improving access to and use of services, and boosting competitiveness and value creation. The local level is very much included in this work, both in political and administrative level. From the citizens' perspective, these steps have increased usability and trust. And concrete example how this has affected is the life of citizens is taxing. Taxing has now a one-stop shop service model that includes both national and local level taxing. It can all be handled on one digital platform. Even the church taxes are included in that.
Okay, that is excellent to hear, Päivi. Now going to Kieran McCarthy, does this resonate with the Irish experience in the city of Cork and what you've learned in your work at the European Committee of the Regions?
Yeah, thanks, Charlotte, and thanks for the invitation. And certainly what I've actually heard in the last 2 or 3 minutes on words like silos and collaboration and funding and support and so on are all things that kind of are also, they resonate with me actually in Cork and probably across many cities to towns as well, right across the European Union and some of my work with the Committee of the Regions. I'd have to say from a Cork perspective, we've kind of been on a journey over the last 10 years. We started off with a smart city collaboration between my city council and my local universities and the Chamber of Commerce and the Traders Association and so on in the city. And we've been on a journey, and we were lucky that we got on a program called Digital Cities, which was with DG Grow in the European Commission. That actually helped us to come up with a digital city action plan. And I think out of that, the last 3 or 4 years, we've been looking at how crude the broadband is in our area in terms of they need to provide proper broadband for citizens living in the region, especially high quality broadband, not just broadband that you see and it's working, but things that you can use. And we're unfortunate in Ireland that local government is actually quite centralised. We don't really have regional offices. So we have a national broadband plan that's been kind of rolled out into the cities and the regions. So we're very dependent on central government. But certainly that is happening. And also we've been lucky that central government have helped Cork City Council with how do we actually harvest data? How do we actually create a data portal? And it's my experience within the Committee of the Regions that it's one thing having a smart city collaboration within your city or region. It's another thing that you actually also need the tech expertise to create data dashboards and to harvest the data. And also you need administration teams as well. So I think central government have been providing some training. We're lucky in Ireland, we have an All Ireland Smart Cities Forum, which kind of brings together different cities and different towns, and there's an exchange of knowledge, especially looking at how do we harvest data to deal with the environment, how do we harvest data to kind of to target zero emissions and so on. So that's just some of my my opening remarks. I have to say, in my own council, we have a very small tech admin team. But the overall costs are growing every year to deal with things like cybercrime, to deal out digital services for the citizen. Like the expectation out there at the moment because of COVID is so high. People want to see all their services online. And I think COVID has pushed us all to engage more with the digital / e-government world. And I think that's to all our benefits. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Kieran. I think our next speaker, Paolo De Rosa, would definitely agree with you that the use of digital services has also known a take-up in Italy. Paolo, can you please tell us from the perspective of the national government how you have facilitated collaboration with the Italian municipalities in light of your country's digital transformation?
Yeah, good morning. I can just bring an example of what we did in Italy as a central government with a specific project that was related to a national database called Anagrafe Nazionale della Popolazione Residente, that stands for all the information about people collected in the municipalities. Also, in building this database, we have seen a lot of interest and a way to work better with the local government, because at the beginning we had many databases. So each municipality has its own database with all this information related to the population in that area, in that town, and that city. And this project was about to build this national database and move all the information in one single place, and also at the same time keeping all the municipality to use this information for all the services, online services, but not only online services, also standard services that they're providing. So this integrated system allows municipality to perform any kind of personal data and consult for extract data, monitor activities, carry out statistics, in order to become a single point of reference for the entire public administration. This database is also integrated with the APIO, that is the application we developed to have a single channel through which the local and national authorities can offer services to the citizen directly on the smartphones, and sorry, also to provide services practically increasing try to increase the effectiveness of the relationship between user and public administration. So where is the interesting part? We noticed that working together with the municipalities, giving them direct support, opening a direct channel with the municipality, started to develop to grow the project, because at the beginning the project was not successful at all. We had all the infrastructure, we had all everything up and running, but the municipality were not moving, were not accepting what we were offering from the central level. So now approximately 7,800 municipalities are already part of this database after, as I say, the difficult start. And the key success factors that have contributed to these results are basically the collaboration, starting to have a collaboration between different ministries, because this database, it's a responsibility from the Interior Ministry. And so we started as a department of the digital transformation. We started working with them, explaining the difficulties that the municipality have to onboard technically on this service. Also establishing a program office. So we established a program office following specifically this project, but also talking directly with two very important stakeholders that were the municipality itself, and also the contractor that the municipality had in the local activities. And this was a boost, because we understood what kind of problem they were fronting, that they were experiencing in the fields, and that was possible to support them with specific tools, and in terms of technical tools, but also financial tools. So we supported the municipalities with specific funds and in the migration process. Also, as I said, also establishing a direct contact with the municipality was very helpful. The communication between the central government, the local government, usually is very, I'll say, official, and
Yes.
and instead of official communication, we just start talking with people, opening chat. So we just starting using normal digital tools like chat, things like that. And so we reduced the gap there was in terms of communication with the local municipality.
Exactly. So it sounds like you took a human-centered approach from the national government to the local government in assessing their needs in implementing the program and explaining the benefits to citizens. And that's absolutely inspiring, Paolo. So thank you so much. Now, before moving on to the second topic of discussion, I would like to remind the audience that you still have the opportunity to pose questions to our speakers using the Q&A function. And we've cleared some time in the schedule for the speakers to respond to your questions. So please take advantage of this if you want to know more than what they've told you already. Now, our second topic of discussion is the European support needed for the next level digital services at the local level. So how can they become really user-centered? And I would like to go to Kieran McCarthy first, hearing about the perspective from the Committee of the Regions. What would you say needs to be done at the EU level beyond good regulations to lift this local digital service delivery to the next level, and also make this happen for all European citizens and not just a couple? Kieran, please go ahead. I think we may have lost Kieran's connection, so I will get back to Kieran at a later stage. In that case, I will continue right away with Paolo, since you took the stage already. So could you comment on this point of the European support that would be needed?
So yeah, this is also an interesting point. We are trying to study together with the Structural Reform Support Program exactly this topic. So to be honest, I haven't an answer. So we are trying to understand how to. I think many projects from the European Commission are already they have in mind the user-centric approach. The problem is how to bring the information from the field up to them into the Commission, and we are trying to study a little bit to conduct some research on this, because it's not easy. It was an interesting example for us was also the DCC, so the Digital COVID Certificate, where we had to do this in very hurry because it was developed in very few months. And so what we are trying to do is to understand the lesson learned from the DCC. We are currently running a study where, together with the Commission, evaluating the current level of digitalization of the public administration, but at the same time proposing a governance model coupled to ensure full coordination among Italian public administration, because we have many. I think in Europe we are one of those. We have a lot small municipality and in public administration in general. We are also developing toolkits to guide APA. This is very important. Also in the NRR, National Recovery Fund, because there we see a lot of effort that should be put into a user-centric approach. And what we are trying to understand is how we can build toolkit together with the Commission, collecting information from the field. The other point is how to increase efficiency in the administration, so making bureaucracy process faster and more efficient. And we are, I think, also as central government, we are together with the regions and towns. We are trying to propose a model to have only one, for example, for the NRR, to have only one call for the digitalization measures, in order to reduce the effort for the municipalities to bureaucracy effort. So what do you need to do in terms of administrative requirements to perform to receive the funds and do the stuff for monitoring? I think this is also in discussion with the Commission. So this is something we are trying to explain them, that we need to reduce the number of things we ask them for a project, for example, numbers of reports and monitoring papers that we need to do on that. I think we, as a central, as Commission, we can make some effort to reduce on them the effort, because at the end they are always the last part that they have a lot of burden on top of them to fill papers and stuff. This is what I can say. I don't know if that was useful for the.
Thank you, Paolo. So if I understand you correctly, sometimes less can be more when it comes to having to do reporting, etc., instead of providing support through standards, for example, or joining forces in building a toolkit together. Now I've seen that Kieran has rejoined us again. I'm very happy to see you back, Kieran. So could you comment for us on the European support that local governments would need to actually lift their service delivery to the next level?
Yeah, thanks. My apologies. My internet all of a sudden became unstable, which sometimes never happens. So it always happens at the wrong time. I suppose just maybe to build on Paula's points, like the need for toolkits, the need for training for local and regional authorities, the need to talk to local and regional authorities. I mean, the Committee of the Regions over the last few years has been doing more and more partnerships with the Directorate General of Research and Innovation. It's talking a lot more to people like the Entrepreneurship Directorate, DG Grow. As I said in my initial comments, probably one of the best things to come out of the European Commission in recent years was a digital cities action plan, where cities could actually sign up, get training, and regions could sign up and get training, and all of a sudden they actually had a digital action plan, and they got a high standard of professionalism involved in that, and they got the help actually required. Because as I said in my earlier comments, on the ground you're dealing with people that sometimes can't see the broader vision for their city or their regions. They're working in a small department. I know my own ICT unit, there's only 4 or 5 people in there, and I said they're trying to bat off cybercrime and also trying to promote e-government right across many directorates in my own city council. that's not easy. You need buy-in. So there's one thing like getting help. You also need buy-in then on the ground itself. And I think one of the speakers kind of mentioned that they had problems with a municipality who needed more support. So there is this huge need. I mean, I certainly welcome the Digital Europe plan or an action plan that's going to be launched, and even to see the word digital being mentioned as part of Ursula von der Leyen's speeches and the need for that kind of going forward. But there's also the practicalities on the ground need to be met, whether that's broadband or training for how you actually data harvest. I think there are lots of the 95,000 local and regional authorities across Europe that don't even have a data portal and don't know even where to start. And so sometimes it's the basic of things. And I think there was something in the chat there where sometimes the smallest of money can actually deliver really big things when it comes to digital. I think that's important. So that I will park it at that. And I think that there are many cities out there as well that do have smart cities plans. I always say as well to people that whatever the ICT unit is doing, whatever digital city action plan is in the city, needs to be embedded in the city development and regional development plan as well going forward. So the city and region can give money over 5, 10-year, 20-year period, has a long-term vision for it. I feel sometimes it's very, just talking to colleagues in the Committee of the Regions, it's very itty-bitty. There's no kind of long-term vision. It's like we're constantly we're reacting, but we're not kind of saying, well, this is what it's going to look like 10 years down the road. And there's a really interesting program being introduced at the moment by the Director General for Mobility, Transport, DG Move, and it's called 100 Climate Neutral Cities by 2030. And there's an open call at the moment. And I think those sort of programs are ideal for cities to engage with data harvesting, digital, and also greening their city a lot more, engage a lot more in nature-based solutions and so on. So there are programs there, but municipalities need to get the information that they are on and also engage with them, and then actually rally a support team within their local councils to go, let's do this and let's get going with it.
Yes, thank you, Kieran. So what I hear you say is that actually these kind of programs could help municipalities to develop such a long-term vision and at the same time find the support there also to implement this. So I think Boris would definitely agree with this. Boris, you mentioned earlier already that, well, from the European side, not only projects should be organized, but standards should be implemented top-down, and the bottom-up support should be there as well. So could you comment a little bit more on the needs regarding the European support?
Thank you. And if I connect to what Kieran and Paolo said before, Paolo said when we start to communicate with the local communities, then we understood them better and they start to respond. And Kieran mentioned also the mobility system. For example, when we build roads, we built the main corridors from the European perspective, main roads from the, let's say, state or country perspective, and local roads from local perspective, but they have all standards. We know that we have to ride on the right side, for example. So what we need from Europe is data standards, how to store, exchange the data, how to connect the processes, because what's interesting for the local level is also feeding the national level and is also feeding the international level. So we need to know how to connect all the processes, and the data have to follow the processes. What I am missing the most is coordination, organization, management, if you want, the digitalization, because we are expecting from the mayors of different size of cities and to understand digitalization, but they don't, because it's too complicated, and then everything ends on the technical solutions. But technical solutions comes last. What we need to support before that is to understand on the local level what are the possibilities of the digital development. The local decision makers, they usually don't understand what you can do with the digitalization. The second one is before you jump into projects, do we have a strategic vision? Do we have a local government plan? What we will do with the digitalization? There, the European documents that were mentioned are extremely important and supportive, but hard to understand for someone who is not really deeply involved in the digitalization. So common language to understand that the digitalization is very effective tool, but nothing more than a tool. Having computers, it's not used. You cannot, I don't know, nail something down with the computer. It's a tool to support the local government, the national government, and the European governmental goals. Then we need a support for the project preparation, to think about the project, what we want to do. And then on the end, you apply with the project, get finances, and you do something on the field. You develop some program solutions, some platform, you buy some IoT networks or something like this. But planning before, understanding, and make it purpose before. What kind of purpose, the goals it will serve. This is what I miss in advance. And then as a result of that, missing preparation and understanding, deep understanding phase, like design thinking is saying, ends that we are stacking technical project solutions. But it's not always that we are very effective in supporting our community goals, our citizens' needs, but we have a lot of technical solutions. It's like having very, very fast car that you cannot drive, but you have it in the garage. So it's not very rational to go in that approach. So preparation phase is something that I am missing from the beginning, top down, and then let's make a creative process bottom up, but following the same goals and following the same main standards that we can communicate to each other. Like I will finish. I mentioned roads before. Roads are not a local question because every road is connecting to some other road and is going abroad and is going wider and further. Digital is the same. There is no digital system that's closed. We are all connected to each other. So we have to cooperate and co-design the whole system. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Boris. That makes absolute sense to collaborate on what connects us all and thus influences us all. I would like to refer to Bertrand Lavaux now to hear from the perspective of the city of Paris. What would be needed there to get to the next level of local service delivery?
Thank you. I think I have nothing else to add. In fact, it was pretty clear. Yes, we definitely need data standards, and it has to be at the European level. I may say it's the only correct level that can define those standards, that's for sure. When it comes to fundings, I definitely agree that we need to go faster and to go less on paperwork, because the European fundings are very high, that's for sure. But when we see the work we have to do to get those fundings, it's sometimes just too much work to do and I'll say not much hope to get those fundings. And I think also that the national level and the subsidiarity must be at the center of the communication between the European level and the local level. As Paolo told us for Italy, the national level is probably more aware of the real needs of the local cities and the local governments and what is exactly the organization of the country. So when for example, when the recovery plan has been adopted, the fact that the national level get the fundings and then distributed it to the local government and to local cities was probably a good thing. So we can I'd say discuss on the same topics, the topics that really we know in each other in our countries. So it's I think the national level still has is a very effective way of let's say distributing the fundings and also getting all the local level involved in those efforts. But yes, data standards and also, of course, European laws. When GDPR was effective some years ago, it has been a real good framework for us to build e-services that were respecting the citizen privacy. And we need those European frameworks so we can build better e-services and more human-centric services. So data standards, laws, national level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bertrand, also for the great summary at the end. Päivi, could you tell us if you recognize what the previous speakers have told, or if there are any additional requirements to be made from your perspective?
Thank you. Very good perspective from the previous speakers, because I think very important important things have already said. I think what we need more is because this is not about technology, it is about how people understand the big transformation and the big challenges, global challenges, which we have to face together, both locally and globally and in European. So that's why it is about how we understand that the big question is how we understand the differences between the European countries at all levels, which we face in our everyday life with our people. And that's why I think I'd like to make 2 points for this how the next level with the European support, because we have a lot of good instruments nowadays and good work that have been done. But 2 points is first is that I think that the focus needs to be on fair data and platform economies in everywhere. How we can find the new role for public actors in this new area of data economy, and how we think the value capture in a new way with the global actors, so that it's done from the people first perspective, so that we focus on sustainable transformation in all we do. And I think this is very important, because our societies has been planned so in the framework of how do you say, material world, and this digital world is totally different. And that's why we need to think what is the fair data and platform economies, and that's why GDPR is very good start at the European level in this world, and other things too. Secondly, it's because it is not enough that we create rules and codes or of conduct for AI technologies, etc. I think we need, and what it is all about, it is a big cultural transformation to happen in diverse Europe to really handle this change. And that's why we need co-creation between European cities, so that local level can solve global challenges in a sustainable way, taking into account ecological, social, cultural, and social sustainability at the same time in everyday life, and also in the big picture too. And that's why I think one good example from Finland is that we co-created a 6-year strategic program last period. It was a long-term period with 6 biggest cities in Finland, and we co-created very many solutions, how to make people first changes in our cities, and we could also scale those solutions to other cities and between others and between our cities too. And that's why I think the biggest and perhaps the most important thing is that we need to find new ways to accelerate this kind of networks, real networks within the cities in Europe, and that is the way we can learn from each others, because learning is the solution for the challenges. And I would like to last say that very common slogan is think global, act local, and I would like to add and vice versa, and that is the most important thing. We need to collaborate and we need to communicate, and we need to co-create together the value with people at all levels, but also with all institutional levels too.
Okay, thank you so much, Päivi. Just a quick reaction from Boris, if you may.
Yeah, I would just like to add on what Päivi said.
Yes.
Is when you ask citizens, you get solutions that are really serving them and not talking about the technology. Again, with the car, I don't care how my car works. I know what I can do with my car. I can travel. This is the same with technology. And I would suggest that also we use the 3 key questions to reduce the administrative procedures when we are applying for the project. And these 3 questions for us are people happy with the solution? Do they like it? The second question is, am I more productive with the solution? Do I spend less, stand less time in line? And the third question is this solution sustainable? And if there is yes, we can reduce the technical approach to the project to complicated forms. But we are not usually addressing these 3 key questions that are really important. And also what Päivi said, the digital world is completely different from the physical world. Yes and no, because the digital world is just a reflection of the physical. And if we have a well data covered digital world, then we have basically digital twin. So we can plan, we can analyze, we can predict, and have much better solutions on all levels, from European to local.
Okay, thank you very much. Any quick reactions from the other speakers? Otherwise, I will open the floor to the Q&A. I don't see any hands raised at this point. So in that case, I would like to invite Manon from Eurocities to unmute herself, or if the technical moderator can take care of that, so she can ask the question that she posed in the chat.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Manon. Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, it's a question for everyone. The general question is, to what extent is a lack of comparable metrics on digitization to what extent is the lack of comparable metrics on digitization a challenge? So, for example, if we want to compare or share knowledge exchange and we don't have a similar or comparable metrics, how do we do to take to follow the path of good municipalities that are very user-centric?
Okay, wonderful question, Manon. Thank you very much. I would like to give Kieran the opportunity to answer first.
I think my gut is that Manon, on behalf of Eurocities, probably has been collecting data on this as well. But you look at an enormous amount of work needs to be done. I don't think we're at the races when it comes to comparing metrics. I think a good bit of work has been done on measuring how the broadband works in different cities and regions and neighborhoods. But I mean, I have to say that there are projects within URBACT and Interreg that are helping people exchange knowledge a lot more and actually building toolkits that are being put online. And I think there's probably no shortage of conferences on e-government as well. Like for my part, I'm lucky I sit on the European Commission's e-government steering panel, and I'm forever and a day raising that member states need to speak to local and regional government a lot more. I think that's a comment as well that I've heard right across this panel. So yeah, it is a challenge. There's a lot more to do. But in terms of the work that's ongoing with European associations dealing with digital government, the work is very valid.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. Päivi, please go ahead. I see you have a comment to make as well.
Yes, thank you. Very important question. Thank you, Manon. I think we too often think that the logical metrics is important. I think more important is to find how we want to utilize digitalization and how we change our business models and operational models in a strategic way for this sustainable transformation. And after that comes how we metric our results. I think we too often think that comparable metrics are the solution. The solution is how we make this transformation and how we find the best ways to find the new way to do this business or services with our citizens. And that's why I think we are in Espoo speaking nowadays and finding new ways with the platform of or development process with the city as a service, where it is how we can find first the goals for the impactful cooperation with all stakeholders, and after that we try to find the comparable metrics. So I would like to say less metrics, more thinking of what is the change we would like to accelerate.
Interesting point there, Päivi. Definitely something to think about this relationship between metrics and the actual digital strategy and development of the services. Do we sometimes go too far when it comes to developing indicators and metrics? On the other hand, they can be really supportive also in holding the different authorities accountable and also being transparent about what's being developed. So on this topic, I would also like to quickly go to Paolo, because I know in Italy you have developed a very interesting dashboard to actually keep track of the digital transformation in your country. So what is your perspective on this? Are metrics there to steer further development, or is this something that would rather be developed afterwards?
Yeah, metrics are very important, as been said until now, and the metrics should be defined as was also said, looking how the user, the citizen is behaving, because not all the metrics are relevant. And you need to put your attention on the right matrix in order to make comparison. We have developed, we have different tools to collect the information at the center. And we are a lot using the EO app also to understand how people are going to use the digital services, because for us is the central is the unique channel that we would like to use for all the administration to get in touch with the people, and from there are coming a lot of also matrix information. And we obviously have the national data platform that we're developing, where we are collecting all these metrics, where we think providing all this information to the central government is going to make more data driven all the stuff we should do in terms of policy and everything else. And yeah, data standards are very, very important. This has been said too, and I'm not going to repeat too much.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. I know that Bertrand also has a point to make regarding the metrics very quickly, because we have another interesting question which has come up in the Q&A as well.
Just to add what Päivi's comment, digitization is a mean and it's not a goal. So we are facing, I think every city is facing the digital divide. We can do the best e-service we want. Here in Paris, we can't have more than 90 to 95% using the digital services to go through the processes we're allowing to our citizens, and we still have 5 to 10% of the population who needs a physical place to go through and to get the, I don't know, the school inscription or so on. So we must take care about we must take care of that, because I'd say 100% digitalization is not a good thing to do for the whole population. We have people that needs physical contact and physical inscription, and we can't deal without them. We have to be open to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for this, Bertrand. I would like to go to, well, my colleague from the Lisbon Council, Alice Jordache, who posed a question in the Q&A section. So if the technical moderator can give her the floor, that would be wonderful.
Hello.
Hi, Alice.
Hear me?
Yes, please go ahead and ask your question, and please also tell us who you are asking your question to.
So thank you very much, Charlotte. Thank you to all the speakers being here today. So hearing you talking about all these very interesting topics, I was wondering, and particularly I was thinking to Paolo, so I was thinking about Italy. I'm from Italy. And I wanted to know what is the role of the regions in supporting local government? So do you have any good examples, something that comes to your mind? Where can we actually place regions in this equation, let's say? What is their role?
Okay, thanks. This is very specific. Regions, our regions, they have a very important role in as you know, in our legislation. So they are the main goal. One of the their main goal is to manage the health, and so they have a very important role in order to coordinate in many cases what municipalities and all the small administration can do in their territory. So we have very good example, for example, in Emilia Romagna, especially in digitalization. We have a small, not so small company that is tied it's related to the region that is doing a very great job. It's called Lepida, and it's very supportive with all the municipalities. So they have a role of, to speed up the digitalization and to a sort of gatekeeper of what is happening also in the territory. But this should not be the only way to communicate. So the other face of these things is that the central and the local should talk directly and also through the region for different kind of aspects. And so they have a very important role and increased during the time, especially for health, but and digital services but at the same time, we need to find a sort of way to communicate directly between the region, local, and central government. I mean, the hierarchy is not good. Our experience is that providing too many levels of hierarchy of communication is you're going to lose communication and information between each space. So each step. Sorry.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would also like to quickly give the floor to Kieran. Obviously, you're a member of the Committee of the Regions, so you must have an opinion on the role of the regions in supporting the local governments.
I suppose over the last 5 years, we've probably produced 12 to 13 written opinions on Digital Europe and its future. So we do have a formal opinion documents you'll see on the Committee of the Regions website. But I completely agree with Paolo in terms of his perspectives, and also, like, I think regions and local authorities, they do work closely together with each other. I'd like to think, from my experience, even within the Committee of the Regions, we do get on with each other. Like I'm a city councillor. I'm lucky that I get to talk to mayors and regional presidents within the Committee of the Regions, and it's usually the same challenges when it comes to e-government. And a lot of it's actually managing expectation, managing public expectation that people want their services online. But someone, I think maybe it was Boris made the point, or someone else made the point, maybe it was Bertrand made the point, that you also have to create a happy balance. Not everyone actually is digitally literate, that there are an older consort of people out there that can't log on and do these services online. They actually want to meet someone at a front desk, and I think that's important. But I think regional and local government can manage the multi-level governance element quite well, and also for spotting opportunities and trying to move the whole thing forward. And as I said at the start, it's important for any digital project to speak to the people on the ground. I think everyone's trying to make that perspective, listen to the citizens, and build something from the bottom up. That's probably what we're all trying to hammer the point through on that this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Kieran. We have a couple of minutes left in our session, and I would like to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about trust, because as evoked by Minister Korytnik in his opening speech today, this is a key topic when it comes to developing user-centered services further. So I would like to ask Bertrand, could you comment on this from the Paris French perspective, how you deal with the issue of trust? How do you maintain it, or even perhaps boost it through your digital services?
Well, actually, when I saw the question, it was not so clear for me. Maybe it's strange, but in Paris and for cities, I think the trust of the citizens is perhaps the best, since the citizens know who they are talking to. We are local government. People, even in Paris, people know the mayor, they know who is elected. And so the mistrust we can have from citizens towards national governments or towards European governments is not so, to my feeling, so it's not such a problem. We have to take care of citizen privacy, so we are very strict with GDPR and so on, but we don't feel like the citizens don't trust our services. To what I've seen so far. So I'm interested in the other guest reactions, since we don't have so many people who don't trust us. We have opponents. We have political opponents. We have people who are not agreeing with the municipality's way of doing, but it's not a question of trust. It's a question of politics. Some people like cars, some people like bicycles, and so on, and that's different people, but it's not a question of trust. to my
Yes.
understanding.
So that's a very interesting point when we talk about public trust in relation to digital services. Perhaps it is very relevant then to take into account which context we're talking about. Are we talking about trust towards national government or local governments? And different provisions might have to be made in this respect. I know Boris has an opinion about this as well. So Boris, please go ahead.
Yeah. I'll try to approach that question a little more, not who do we trust, but what are the elements of trust. And first, I mean, the element of trust is transparency. And digital tools are great tools to boost up transparency of local or at any level of government. The second one that was already mentioned was safety, security, cybersecurity, data protection. So I feel that my data and my interfering with some services is really safe, private, when it's supposed to be. The third one is the element of reliability, availability, responsiveness of a service. Does it always work? Is it always online? Do I get help? And then I do believe that one of the elements that's key for a trust, and it's not used enough, is inclusion and co-creation of a services. Because when you co-create something, then you know what it is, you trust it, and you share the responsibility. This is the area where we use it a lot with the legal solutions or legislation development, direct democracy, public debates, and so on. So the basic idea is, if I'm co-creating the law, then I will understand it and I will follow it and so on. It's the same with the digital solution. So this last element, I think there is a lot of room for improvement.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's now time to, well, ask all speakers for any final takeaways, things that you really want the audience to keep in mind, issues that are important when it comes to this interinstitutional collaboration that we've been talking about. So first, Päivi, please go ahead. What are your key points?
Perhaps the most important key points are that we have to make this transformation together at the local level, and that's why the trust is very important thing, because it is not a question of technical or operational any development process. It is about the culture, how we co-create and how we co-work together, and how we find the learning pathways to the sustainable future, to the sustainable transformation. And that's why it is very important to have open-minded thinking when we co-create and cooperate with others. And that's why perhaps the most important key point is try to be open for new ideas, try to be open for different cultures, try to understand more the differences between our European cities and between the individuals.
Yes, absolutely. So trust is about more than privacy and cybersecurity, because that tends to dominate the discussion. Thank you very much. Kieran, any final takeaways you want to give to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, there is a vast role for local and regional authorities in all of this debate, but capacity building within local and regional authorities actually is important. And I also will, I suppose, have a nod to trust and partnership with the citizen is important. I mean, if it's machine-read data, like, fair enough, it's going to be harvested for some use in traffic mobility and congestion and health issues and so on. But if it's personal data, I think people do ask questions on where that data is actually going to. And that's why capacity building is important for the holders of that data. And also, just to say, just from the previous discussion, like for a fourth tier European city, like something like 250,000 people, it's about €500,000 to actually to put things on the cloud when your local authority. So even before you start, it's €500,000. I think there's also lots to learn from each other. I think we need to do more learning and spot opportunities and keep learning from each other. Thanks.
Yes, great. Let's keep the learning spirit. Well, with those words, I would like to go to Paolo for any final remarks from your side.
Okay, it's really hard because all that has been said is I agree very much what Päivi and Kieran said. I can just add, I think so the digital is a process, digitalization is a process, it's a process to support people because technology is not neutral, it's about what we do and should be used in this way. So trust is very important. Trust is about culture and organization. And in Italy is very, the territory is very important. As you know, we are 8,000 of municipalities. So it's a country built on municipalities, really. And so for us, it's very important to bring everybody, so not the municipality, people, the municipality, everything in. So co-creation, starting from the field to understand and to deliver also, it's very important. So we need to create a global vision, not just a country, but in Europe, and then realize, deliver locally and work together to implement what we designed together and bring in terms of local. So this I think is the most important takeaway from my point of view, and basically is what user-centric, starting from bottom up, going up and going down again to implement that.
Yes, molto grazie, Paolo. Boris, any final key points you would like to convey? Very short, if you can.
Yeah, very short, based on what Paolo and the others said. If I understand something, then I can trust. So we all use the simple language when explaining digital solutions and possibilities. When I understand it, then I can use the digital technology to support, to solve my challenges, not to use the money to buy digital technology. That's important. And when you address the challenges local, governmental, and European, they are building bottom up as the same as also the solutions should.
Thank you. Then we started off with Paris and now we will close with Paris. Bertrand, any final remarks you want to leave the audience with?
Everything has been said, but start from the needs, transparency, and maybe empower the citizens. And that's all I have to say. Very clear. That's what we like. So with those words, we have come to the end of this parallel session. Today's discussion has shown that local digital service delivery is not exclusively a local matter. Let that be clear. It requires collaboration across all levels of governments. And we've gotten some ideas on how this can be done, which are hopefully inspirational to our audience. So many thanks, of course, first of all, to you, all speakers, the participants in the audience, my colleagues from the Lisbon Council, and the conference organizers making today's session possible. So please enjoy the remaining sessions at this e-government conference, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Bye.
Bye-bye.